Bibliophile's garden, and this week's episode we're going to be talking about harvesting your seed pods and volunteer plants that may spring up in your garden. So for my first episode, I was talking about collard greens and how they can overwinter, and also how they can bolt or they can produce seeds. As you can see, all of these collard green plants have produced seeds. These are seed pods, and ideally you would, when you harvest them, they would all look like this, dried out. You would stop watering the plant and you just let the plants dry out, and then inside would be your seeds. Little brown, you can see one here, right there, look just like this. However, I'm starting to notice that the birds have discovered these seeds, so I'm just going to cut them off because I don't want the birds to eat them all up. And like this, I'm not doing anything else to them. I'm going to put them in the brown paper bag, and then I'm going to put them in the garage so they can finish drying out. You should always try to store your seeds in paper, like an envelope, paper bags, because when you put them in plastic, they deteriorate more so, and they can also, there's an increased chance of things like mold and everything. So once again, you just clip them and you put them in some sort of bag and just store them in a cool, dark place. And when you're ready to start planting again, you will have an abundance of seeds. Okay, so planting corn part 2. Today I'm taking the seedlings that came up out of the greenhouse and I'm going to put them in the ground. As you can see, we got, let's see how many, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 10, we got 11 stalks. And after I plant these, I'm going to plant more because I want to have a successive crop. Hopefully everything goes well, but I'm thinking I should be able to get 2 crops. Stay tuned. Okay, planting corn part 2. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm taking my seedlings out, and I have a little plot in a sunny section of my yard. And again, we'll see how it goes. I have to correct myself. I said I never planted corn before, but I did. When we first moved to this house, I forgot about that. I didn't know what I was doing. I planted it, it grew, but it was also pretty gross because I didn't really know how to prevent things like earworms and stuff. So anyway, I have the seedling. I'm going to put it in the hole. Prior to planting yesterday, I put fertilizer and I put compost in this plot over here. And when I'm done planting, I'm going to put some fish fertilizer. Corn loves nitrogen, and fish fertilizer is like the best thing it can have during its growing stages. So as you can see also, when you plant corn, you should try to plant them in rows close together, because when they grow, that's how they pollinate from one stalk to the next through their the corn silk. So when the wind blows, if they're close enough, your corn stalks will pollinate. So I will keep you posted on my adventure in growing peaches and cream corn. Have a great day. Okay, in this section, I'm going to talk about volunteer plants that may appear in your garden. Volunteer plants are plants that you did not plant, but they start growing. For example, maybe a bird dropped a seed flying over your garden, or maybe a plant from last year's garden dropped seeds, and those seeds germinated this year, and you have volunteer plants. It depends on how you look at it. Some people think they're annoying, other people think it's a good thing. Personally, they don't bother me because, again, it's more food that's growing, and it's money that I save on seeds for the most part. So if you look over here, this is the plot that I just cleared from the brassicas, or greens that had gone to seed. So I cleared out the plot, and what I did was I took 4 tomato plants, and I transplanted them over here. Now, all of these plants, all of the tomato plants are what you call volunteer plants. I did not plant these. These dropped from my seeds from last year, and they were in my other garden bed. So I left them alone, and I decided to move them over here, and I planted them next to these right here. Those are marigolds. I planted a lot of marigolds by seeds, so they haven't flowered yet, but they're coming up. And I have them throughout the garden. That's another thing to consider. Marigolds are considered a beneficial flower. They attract pollinators, the good insects that you want to pollinate your plants, and also they're good for the soil. They help with tomato plants to fight off, what do they call it, nematodes? Nematodes. We'll put the correct name in the video. And that's like a tiny fungus that will, I think it's knotted nematodes, that will attack the roots of your tomato plants. So marigolds, the way they were created, is a natural repellent of those tiny little spores. And I also transplanted some basil that I had grown from seed in other parts of the garden. This basil was in a pot. As you can see, it wasn't doing too well, so I said, let me move it, and hopefully it'll do better over here. And another little basil over there. And basil is another great plant that you want to plant next to your tomatoes because they help to repel aphids. So if you have a volunteer plant, I encourage you to love it, to embrace it, to grow it. But that's your choice. So thank you for spending some time with your Bibliophile gardener, and we'll see you next time.